Please don't do this. I'm begging you.
What would you do if the man you suffered with for years suddenly got rich and abandoned you for another woman? This is the story of Alami and how her pain turned into power. Alami had always been a patient and devoted wife to Daniel. Their marriage was not easy, but for 3 long years they managed to survive through love, hope, and perseverance. They were poor, yes, but Alami never complained. She sold vegetables in the market while Daniel chased after small contracts, believing that one day their story would change. Every night, when they lay on their old mattress in their tiny apartment, Daniel would say, "One day, Alami, one day our lives will be better. Just hold on with me and I promise you won't regret it." And Alami always smiled and replied, "I will never leave you. I love you for real. That is what matters. This storm will pass and I trust you, Daniel." That morning seemed like a dream come true. Daniel had just received an invitation to attend a high-profile business meeting in the city. He was so excited that his hands shook as he held the letter. "Alami, this is it. This is the opportunity I've been waiting for," he said, almost breathless. Alami quickly ironed his shirt, polished his shoes, and prayed over him. At the door, she kissed his cheek softly and whispered, "Go and win, my husband. Come back with good news." She had no idea that life as she knew it was about to change forever. Days went by. Daniel did not return home. Alami waited eagerly for her husband to return, but he never did. At first, Alami told herself not to worry. Maybe the meeting was longer than expected. Maybe he got busy with paperwork. She sent messages, but he did not reply. She called his number over and over again, but it only rang and no answer. By the 4th day, her heart began to beat differently. The food she cooked went untouched. At night, she sat by the door, hoping to see his shadow, but he never came. The neighbors whispered. Some told her to be patient, others laughed behind her back. Still, Alami refused to believe anything bad. "Daniel would never leave me," she told herself. "Not after everything we went through together." But one evening, her friend Mercy knocked on her door with a strange look on her face. "Alami," Mercy said carefully, "I don't know how to tell you this, but Daniel has been seen in the city. He's staying in one of those big hotels." Alami frowned. "A hotel? Why? He didn't tell me." Mercy hesitated, then added, "He wasn't alone, Clara. He was with another woman. I saw them myself." The ground shook under Alami's feet. No, Daniel wouldn't do that. Not to me, but her heart told her Mercy was telling the truth. That same night, Alami put on her gown and borrowed money for transport. She took a tricycle to the city and stopped in front of the luxury hotel. The building was massive, with bright lights shining like daylight. Expensive cars were parked outside, and well-dressed people moved in and out. Alami looked at her reflection in the glass doors, her simple clothes, her tired eyes, her rough slippers. She felt out of place, but her determination pushed her forward. She walked into the lobby. Her eyes scanned the room, searching desperately. And then she saw him, Daniel. He stood in the middle of the lounge, wearing a crisp white shirt tucked into shiny trousers. A golden wristwatch glittered on his arm. He looked taller, richer, and more confident than she had ever seen him. But that wasn't what broke Alami's heart. It was the young woman holding onto his arm like a trophy. She was tall, slim, and beautiful, her dress hugging her body in all the right places. Alami's breath caught in her throat. Gathering courage, she walked straight towards them. Her voice trembled. "Daniel, what is going on?" I've been calling you for days. You told me about a contract. Did you get it? And who is this woman? Daniel opened his mouth, but before he could speak, the woman sneered. I'm Vanessa, she said boldly, her eyes scanning Alami from head to toe. Daniel's wife now. He doesn't need a fat pig, ugly, useless woman like you anymore. Alami's lips shook, her heart squeezed with pain. How dare you call me that? She whispered. Her eyes turned to Daniel, searching his face for a sign of love, regret, anything. But there was nothing. Daniel's eyes were cold. His voice was harder than stone. Alami, don't bother looking for me again. I'm finished with you. Have you seen yourself? Look at how far you've let yourself go fat, ugly, and unwanted. Do you really think any man would want to be with you like this? I was only managing you because I had no choice. Tears rolled down her cheeks. So you don't love me anymore? Just because you have money now? Because of how I look? Daniel avoided her gaze. Instead, he turned to Vanessa, pulled her closer, and kissed her right there in front of Alami. Alami's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. So, Daniel, you're going to throw away all these years for her after everything we went through? Remember our promises. Remember how I stood by you when you had nothing. I cooked for you, prayed for you, suffered with you, and now this is how you repay me? Please, Daniel, don't do this to me. If I've offended you in any way, I'm sorry. Just don't abandon me like this. Just then, a deep voice came from behind. Excuse me, are you Alami? She turned, confused. Standing there was a tall man in a fine black suit. His eyes studied her carefully, and something about him felt familiar. Alami wiped her tears with the back of her hand. Yes, I'm Alami. Do I know you? The man smiled warmly. It's me, Michael, your childhood friend. We went to school together. Do you remember? Alami's eyes widened. She gasped, covering her mouth with her hand. Oh my God, Michael? But this was not the skinny boy she remembered. The man before her was different, confident, wealthy-looking, powerful. Michael's smile faded as he glanced at Daniel and Vanessa. His jaw tightened. I saw what just happened. Was that your husband? Alami's voice broke as she answered. He was my husband until now. She tried to hold back her sobs. He called me fat. He threw me away for her. After 3 years of suffering together, he has abandoned me. Michael's eyes darkened with anger. He folded his arms. Interesting, he said slowly, because I am the one who approved that contract he's celebrating. Alami's head snapped up in shock. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Michael's gaze softened as he looked at her again. Don't worry, Alami. I'll handle this. Daniel and Vanessa disappeared into the hotel with laughter echoing behind them, leaving Alami standing in the middle of the lobby, broken and humiliated. Michael stepped closer. Alami, can I take you home? Clara wiped her wet cheeks. I don't have a home anymore, she whispered. Michael's eyes softened. He touched her arm gently. Then come with me. You can stay at my house. I'll take care of you. Alami hesitated, her lips trembling. But what about your wife? How will you explain bringing a woman like me into your home? Michael chuckled softly. I don't have a wife yet, so you're free. He stretched out his hand towards her. Alami looked at it, torn between fear and hope. Slowly, she placed her hand in his. And as they stepped out of the hotel together, Alami had no idea that her life was about to change in ways she could never imagine. The drive to Michael's house was quiet. Alami sat in the passenger seat, her eyes fixed on the window, watching the bright city lights rush past. But she wasn't really seeing anything. Her heart was heavy, her mind full of pain. Only hours ago she had been waiting in her little apartment, praying for Daniel's return. Now she was leaving the city with another man, her marriage shattered, her dignity torn apart. Michael stole a glance at her. He could see the sadness in her eyes, the way her hands trembled on her lap. He wanted to say something, but he also knew she needed silence. Finally, Alami whispered, "I can't believe it. I gave Daniel everything. When we had nothing, I stayed. I cooked for him, prayed for him, encouraged him. And now, the moment money entered his hands, he threw me away like rubbish." Her voice broke, and tears spilled down her cheeks again. Michael tightened his grip on the steering wheel. "Alami, listen to me. What Daniel did says more about him than it does about you. Money doesn't change a person, it only shows who they really are." Alami sniffed, looking down at her hands. "But maybe he's right. Maybe I am useless. Maybe I'm too fat, too plain, and too ugly. No man would want me." Michael pulled the car over to the side of the road. He turned to face her. His eyes burned with seriousness. "Don't you ever say that again. Alami, you are not useless. You are not unworthy. You are far more valuable than Daniel ever saw. Believe me." For a moment, Alami could not breathe. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not even Daniel. When they finally reached Michael's house, Alami's mouth fell open in shock. The mansion was enormous, with tall pillars, shining glass windows, and a fountain at the front that sparkled under the lights. The compound was wide, filled with flowers and trimmed grass. This is your house?" Alami whispered. Michael smiled as he parked the car. "One of them," he said casually. Her jaw dropped. She followed him slowly into the house, her slippers tapping against the marble floor. The interior was more breathtaking than the outside golden chandeliers, expensive couches, and paintings that looked like they belonged in a museum. Alami stood frozen at the door. "Michael, are you sure it's okay for me to stay here? I don't belong in a place like this." Michael walked over and touched her shoulder gently. "Alami, don't ever think like that. You deserve comfort, peace, and respect. This house is as much yours as it is mine, for as long as you want to stay." Her eyes watered again. But this time, it wasn't only from sadness. It was from something else, something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. The next morning, Alami woke up in a large soft bed. The sheets smelled fresh, and sunlight streamed through the white curtains. For a moment, she thought it was a dream, but then she remembered everything. Her marriage, the betrayal, the hotel. Her chest tightened, but she forced herself to rise. She couldn't stay in bed forever. When she entered the kitchen, she found Michael making tea. "You're awake," he said with a warm smile. "I thought you might be hungry." Alami shook her head. "No, let me cook. It will help me clear my mind." Michael raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" "Yes," she said firmly. He laughed softly and handed her the kitchen to herself. As she looked around, the kitchen was massive, with marble counters and shelves stocked with the best ingredients she had ever seen. She ran her hand over the shiny appliances, almost afraid to touch them. While searching for pots, she noticed a book on the counter. Its cover had Chinese characters and pictures of slim women drinking herbal teas. Curious, Alami opened it. Inside were recipes for weight loss meals, teas, and exercises. Michael walked in just then and saw her flipping through it. "Ah, that book," he said. "It belonged to my sister. She used to be overweight when I was younger, but she followed everything in that book and she changed her life completely." Alami's eyes widened. "Really? Do you have her picture?" Michael took out his phone and showed her a photo of a slim, elegant woman smiling confidently. Alami gasped. "This is your sister? She looks so beautiful." Michael nodded proudly. "Yes, she worked very hard for it. Alami, if you want, I can help you try it too." For the first time in days, Alami smiled faintly. Maybe I will." The days passed slowly. Alami stayed in Michael's house, trying to heal. But the pain of Daniel's betrayal haunted her. She would wake at night, clutching her chest, remembering the cruel words Vanessa had spoken to her face. Still, Michael gave her space. When she needed company, he was there with stories from their childhood, jokes that made her laugh, and advice that lifted her spirit. One morning, Alami picked up the Chinese book again. She read it carefully this time. It wasn't just about drinking tea, it was about a whole new lifestyle. Healthy food, natural remedies, and simple exercises. She closed the book slowly, her heart firm. "I will do this. Not for Daniel, not for revenge, but for myself. I want to feel confident again." When Michael walked into the kitchen and saw her reading, he smiled knowingly. "So, you're serious about it?" Alami nodded. "Yes, I want to try." "Good," Michael said, "and I'll support you every step of the way." The first days were very hard. Alami struggled to leave her old habits. She missed eating heavy meals, and the herbal teas tasted strange. The light exercises made her body ache. One evening she sat on the couch, exhausted, her head resting in her hand. Michael came in carrying 2 glasses of lemon water. "Tired?" he asked gently. "So tired. I didn't know changing myself would feel this hard." Michael smiled softly. "Everything worthwhile is hard at the beginning, but I can already see a difference in you." She frowned. "You're just saying that to make me feel better." "No," he replied firmly. "I mean it. You have a glow now. Not just outside, but inside." Alami's cheeks warmed. She quickly looked away, sipping her drink to hide the blush on her face. Weeks turned into months. Slowly but surely, Alami's body began to change. Her clothes became looser, her face slimmer, her steps lighter. More importantly, her heart grew stronger. She was no longer the broken woman who had begged Daniel for love. Michael noticed it too. Every day he praised her progress, encouraged her, and stood by her. One evening, he invited her to accompany him to a high-profile business dinner. "You've been working so hard," he said. "It's time you enjoy yourself." Alami hesitated. "What if people judge me?" Michael chuckled. "Trust me, Alami, they won't judge you. They'll admire you." That night, Alami wore a stunning red gown Michael had bought for her. When she stepped out of her room, Michael's jaw almost dropped. "Wow," he whispered. "You look breathtaking." Alami blushed. "You think so?" "I know so," he said, offering his arm. At the event, heads turned as soon as they walked in. Clara's confidence glowed brighter than the diamonds on her dress. She held her head high, no longer ashamed of who she was. But then, across the hall, she froze, her eyes locked on a familiar face. Daniel. He was standing with Vanessa. But something was different. He no longer looked proud. His face was pale, his eyes restless. And then his gaze landed on her. He stared, confused, unable to recognize her at first. Then his mouth dropped open. "Alami?" he whispered. The room went silent. Daniel's eyes were fixed on Alami, unable to look away. His mind raced as he tried to understand what he was seeing. This couldn't be the same Alami he had thrown away. The woman in front of him was glowing, her skin smooth, her body slimmer, her confidence unshakable. She looked like someone he could never reach. Vanessa noticed the way Daniel was staring. She tugged at his sleeve, frowning. "Why are you looking at her like that?" Daniel blinked quickly and forced a laugh. I just thought she looked familiar, that's all." But his heart was pounding. "Alami? How can this be Alami?" Across the hall, Alami smirked slightly. She could see the confusion in Daniel's eyes, the regret already starting to creep into his face. Michael leaned closer to her and whispered, "Do you want to leave?" Alami shook her head, her chin high. "No, let him see me." Later that evening, while Michael was speaking to some investors, Daniel quietly made his way over to Alami. His face was pale, his voice low. "Alami, is it really you?" Clara turned slowly, her eyes calm, her lips painted with a confident smile. "Yes, Daniel, it's me." Daniel swallowed hard. "You look different." "I know," she said softly. Daniel's mouth opened, but no words came out. He wanted to say, "I miss you. I regret it. Forgive me." But his pride choked him. Before he could continue, Michael returned and wrapped an arm gently around Alami's waist. His eyes flickered at Daniel. "Is there a problem here?" Daniel forced a tight smile. "No problem. Just surprised, that's all." Michael nodded slowly. "Good. Because Alami doesn't need any problems in her life anymore." Alami smiled and leaned closer to Michael, showing Daniel the sparkling diamond ring on her finger. "Yes, Daniel," she said with quiet power. "Michael and I are engaged." Daniel's eyes widened. His throat went dry. The woman he had abandoned was now engaged to one of the most powerful men in the country. From that night, Daniel's life began to crumble. At first, he tried to ignore the feeling of regret, but it followed him like a shadow. At business meetings, he couldn't focus. At home, Vanessa's constant demands and insults drove him mad. One afternoon, he sat in his office, his head in his hands. Papers covered the desk, reports, complaints, warnings. The contract he had once celebrated was falling apart. The phone rang. It was Michael's assistant. "Mr. Daniel, you are required to present your progress report to Ms. Alami this week." Daniel's stomach twisted. Alami, the woman he had called fat and useless, was now the one who would judge his work. When he entered her office, his steps were heavy. Alami sat behind the desk, dressed in a smart suit, her eyes steady as she looked at him. "Daniel," she said calmly, "sit down." He obeyed, his heart racing. "I've reviewed your progress report," Alami continued, "and it's disappointing. The project is far from complete, and the funds are almost gone. Do you have an explanation?" Daniel stammered, sweat beading on his forehead. I miscalculated. I just need more time." Alami's eyes narrowed. The deadline was already generous. "What have you been doing with the money, Daniel?" He couldn't answer. He just lowered his head in shame. Alami leaned forward. "This is business. You have 4 weeks left. Deliver or refund every kobo. There will be no excuses." Daniel's throat tightened. He could barely breathe. For the first time, he realized the truth. Alami was no longer the helpless wife he abandoned. She was now the one in control. At home, things grew worse. Vanessa, the woman he had chosen over Alami, showed her true colors. She complained about everything. She spent his money recklessly on clothes, jewelry, and parties. And when Daniel told her about the company's struggles, she only rolled her eyes. One evening, he shouted at her in frustration. "Do you understand what's happening, Vanessa? If I can't deliver this project, I'll lose everything." Vanessa scoffed, filing her nails. "Then fix it." "I didn't leave my comfort just to end up with a broke man." Daniel's mouth hung open. "So that's what I am to you? Just money?" Vanessa shrugged. "Of course. What else did you think?" And with that, she packed her bags and left the very next week. Daniel sat alone in his mansion, the silence crushing him. He thought about Clara, about the nights she had stayed awake, cooking for him, encouraging him, holding his hand when they had nothing. And now, the woman he had called worthless was the one shining while he was drowning. 4 weeks later, Daniel failed the project completely. Michael's company sued him for breach of contract. His bank accounts were frozen. His properties were seized. He went from living in a mansion to sleeping in a small rented room. Desperate, he swallowed his pride and went to see Alami one last time. She was in her office reviewing documents. When he entered, he looked broken, his clothes wrinkled, his eyes red from lack of sleep. "Alami," his voice cracked. "Please, don't let them take everything from me. I was foolish. I didn't value you. Please, help me." Alami looked at him, her expression calm but firm. "Daniel, when you walked away from me, did you think about how I would survive? Did you care that I had nothing?" Daniel's lips trembled. "I know. I was blind. I was proud. Please, forgive me." Alami exhaled slowly. "I forgive you, Daniel. But forgiveness does not erase consequences. You must face what you created." Tears ran down his cheeks as he fell to his knees. "Alami, please." But Alami stood, gathering her papers. "Goodbye, Daniel." And with that, she walked out, leaving him sobbing on the floor. Months later, Alami stood in front of the mirror in her wedding dress. Her eyes sparkled, her smile radiant. Michael stood waiting for her at the altar, his face full of pride and love. As she walked down the aisle, Alami's heart was full. She had once thought losing Daniel was the worst thing that could ever happen to her. But now, she realized it was the best. She had found strength, love, and a new life. And when she looked into Michael's eyes, she knew for certain she had won. The true test of love is in hardship, not in success. Anyone can love you when things are easy, but only a real heart will stand with you when life is difficult. When people betray you, it is not the end of your story. Sometimes rejection is a redirection, pushing you into the hands of those who will truly value you. A person's worth is not measured by their body size, but by their heart and their resilience. Respect is earned through character, not appearance. Greed and pride blind the heart. Daniel lost everything because he thought money was enough to replace loyalty and love. Transformation begins when you choose yourself. Alami's greatest victory was not becoming slim, but discovering her confidence, self-respect, and strength. Life has a way of balancing itself. The same person you mock today may rise above you tomorrow, while your pride pulls you down. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think about Alami's journey? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your opinion matters. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories.